All right. Welcome back to South Texas Outdoors Podcast for part two of a DIY moose hunt. I got Ethan Walls back with me from New Divide Outdoors. Welcome back, man.
Oh, thanks again for having me, man. It's an honor.
Honor's mine. I appreciate you sharing your story in part one. That was pretty cool. Now in this episode, we're going to get into more of what it takes to plan a hunt like this, because this was 100% DIY, right? 100% public land DIY.
Oh yeah. Complete DIY. I like to make this little bit of a distinction. It might be, stroking my ego a little bit, but I like to make the distinction between complete DIY. It's not like we used a transporter or an outfitter's predetermined spot. This was basically, we picked a river and a spot on the map and said, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. So
nice.
kind of proud of that a little bit,
Yeah, you should be. No, you should be, because that takes, coming from experience and just e-scouting and all that, and we'll get into that, it takes work. Like I tend to be, when I take my cousins out, I tend to be the one doing all the e-scouting, but I like it. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
what I mean?
You have to.
Yeah, I nerd out on it, and I'm up at all hours of the night looking at Onyx, looking at Google Maps, looking at all that stuff. I already got a hunt plan. Now whether it goes that way when we get there, it's a different story. but exactly. I pride myself on, okay, I already know where I think I want to go or we want to go, and then we go from there. So no, you should. So yeah, man, how does the average Joe, do this DIY? I'm gonna assume, how you have to plan this pretty far in advance, or start. I should.
Yeah. There's if you want to do a float hunt, and you've never done it, I would say minimum of 2 years advance. It took me 2 years of planning. I planned most of it. My dad and brother helped a little bit, but I did pretty much about, I would say 85% of it. In those 2 years, I can't even tell you how many hours I put into it. And it's not like I would, research for 2-3 days and then pick it up, a month later. It was pretty much weekly for a solid year and a half, really,
right.
Of several days a week, researching and planning.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So whether that was 15 minutes or 30 minutes, it was, some sort of research constantly. So.
Right. And when you're saying research, are you talking mostly e-scouting or just everything in general, as far as like the tags and how to get transporters?
The first thing I guess I should say was started researching tags a little bit. Mm-hmm. But really it was the state of Alaska is like this, half the size of the lower 48, so it's like, where do you go? What, right. Where do you how do you pick how do you pick a spot, and really the state of Alaska Fish and Game website has a ton of information on it. As far as, and there's other Western states that are similar where they kind of have sort of like a hunt planner, right. To kind of help you get started. And I spent a lot of time on the website, going through past, harvest records and success rates and all that kind of stuff, basically made spreadsheets of all this information and started comparing and basically comparing that to, each different unit and what we wanted, what kind of trip I guess we wanted, to figure out, what to decide on a unit. And then also reading a lot of books. I can't tell you how many books I read.
Oh,
really? Books that were books that are on, say, just river information. I would pick up, rafting books on certain rivers in Alaska that people would, raft on. just a raft, or maybe they'd fish on, uh, you know, other books, that were more geared towards float hunting. There's several out there that are, float hunting books,
Huh.
that have basically anything and everything you'd ever come across or want to know about float hunting. I've read those, front to back 10 times, and made my brother and dad read them and everything. And just that. And then, like you said, e-scouting too. Like once we got, a place figured out, was, e-scouting. The thing, it's hard to say what, especially when you don't have a whole lot of topography. It's hard to say, well, this would be good, this and that. And plus, in a lot of Alaska, especially rural Alaska, Google Maps, I think the most recent photographs are like from 1985. So,
Really?
yeah, I mean, you're talking,
Really?
40, 45-year old photographs. So, I mean, the things change a lot in 40 years.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of unknowns. And then, so I like I think the most recent USGS maps that I had ordered, to look at were from 1965, I think was the most recent ones that I could get. So, I mean, it's really, there's not a whole lot of,
Gotcha.
e-scouting or scouting on a map that you can do, but you can get a good lay of what things are. And like, there's where it says there's a lake there, but
Right.
the shape of it might change a little bit over time, but
Gotcha. Okay, since we mentioned tags, they are over-the-counter tags, correct, for bull moose? Or
yes. So, for the most part, most moose tags are over the counter. And what it is, it's called a locking tag. And really all it is this strip of metal that folds over that you put on the antlers, and it locks, and you can't get it off. It's similar to a tag, just metal and not paper. Really.
right, and so for non-resident over-the-counter, like what I'm getting at, there's no draw or anything.
No,
like that.
there's a few moose draw areas, but for the most part, I think the majority of units are over the counter strictly, and that doesn't mean that they're not as good as the draw units. There's also what they call registration hunts, as it's over the counter, but basically you need some sort of satellite communication so that you can, say you think you're going to kill a bull tomorrow because you've seen one, right at dark or something, and you think you're going to kill him in the morning. Well, you need to be able to communicate with somebody, that can check for you, or the state or something, because they have a quota. And once that quota gets filled, they shut the season down. And, if you're out still hunting and you end up kill something after they shut the season down, well, that's on you because you didn't check. So there's those kind of hunts as well.
Gotcha. And what are we looking at cost for a moose tag?
So those run 800 for a moose tag for non-resident,
Oh, that's not bad.
which no, and I was gonna say, considering what you're hunting,
Right.
it's really not bad. I mean, heck, what an elk tag in Colorado now is what, $700, I think.
Almost 700, almost.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Wow, that's not bad at all. As far as other preparation, like, are you? I'm assuming you got to be willing and able for this heavy pack hound that you might have. So,
Yeah.
Physical fitness, would that go into your
Yeah.
planning at all? Did you train for it?
Yeah. I train. I mean, I say train. I didn't really train for this hunt. I mean, I try to just stay in, good shape all year. I don't specifically try to run marathons or be able to squat the heaviest weight or anything, but just, stay strong and fit. And I think for this, I honestly, I've come to the conclusion I don't think there's really much in the way of working out as far as physical fitness goes that prepares you for trying to pack 150 pounds through a muskeg or in the
Right.
tundra, stuff like that. I just don't think there's really much you can do other than just making sure that you're strong and
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is just being mentally prepared for what the task is, and there's no other way that it's going to get done. Besides you putting the work in and getting it done.
Right. Yeah. I can. I mean, I know for like elk hunt, I'm throwing weight on the pack, and I'm getting to my back strong
Mm-hmm.
at least.
Yeah,
I know that I learned that strength training will actually helped more than conditioning, so to speak. As
yeah.
far as a combination of both or whatever. But it seems like you're not really, at least in this particular hunt. I mean, you're not tracking miles and miles and miles. It's more
No.
the awkwardness of the terrain and that you're dealing with and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. The awkward. That's a good point. Is the awkwardness because I mean, if you can do say like balance exercises, stuff like that, because that's really what what I mean. Obviously, a strong core, helps stabilize you when you're carrying that much weight over awkward ground. But I mean, to me, balance exercises would work pretty good.
What else did you like? I'm assuming, you know, are you shooting? Are you shooting your gun? You're practicing on that? Are you preparing?
Yeah. As far as shooting, I mean, I don't shoot a whole lot all the time. I mean, I shoot my bow dang near every day, but with a rifle, I mean, I shoot, I'll plink around with 22 and 17 here and there
Mhm.
fairly often, I guess. But as far as shooting, actual rifles, I mean, I get my rifles out a little before season starts and shoot a little bit, make sure they're on and everything. And I'm out in practice a little bit here and there, but I mean, not a whole. I mean, heck, it's kind
Gotcha.
of hard to practice nowadays with the price of ammo and
Yeah.
components and everything,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah. But I mean, it's just that until you've planned any kind of backcountry hunt, like there's so much that goes into the planning. I can only imagine this is just more of it. Like you say, you obviously you got to plan out your gear, what you're going to take, right? I mean that's
oh
probably
yeah,
that's probably the bulk of it too. And if you're going to go 2 years in advance, well, you got time to maybe buy some gear, right? That you maybe not
oh
have,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then in this particular time, I'm guessing you're going to have to plan all the logistics behind it. The transporters, like how does all that?
Yeah.
Like you're looking at flight to Alaska, then you got to
Yeah.
get. How does all that shake out?
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, the logistics of the whole thing is probably the I sort of most daunting part of it, I guess you could say, because you're looking at a flight to Alaska, round trip, and that's to either Anchorage or Fairbanks, depending on where you're going to go hunting. Then you're looking at either a flight from Anchorage or Fairbanks to a smaller village, or renting a car to drive to where your transporter, where their office or where
Mm-hmm.
they keep their where their hangar's at.
Right.
If you have to take that small plane to a village, well then you're looking at your transporters there. So then you have to take that bush flight. If you drove to where your transporter is at, well, then you still have to take that bush flight. And then that's the final leg of it. But that's also it's a round trip. And the thing with the transporters, for your bush flight, that's something that you can't really. It's very hard to. You're not going to find somebody that you can book. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't trust it. Um, is transporters that have an open schedule. Say just 2-3 months out from hunting season. Most of them, especially the ones that are good, reliable, reputable, have really good safety ratings. A lot of those are booked, a year to 2 years in advance. So you got to get in on their books, plenty of time in advance. So, I mean, that's also why, part of the reason why, 2 years is really a short time span when you're planning something like that. And it goes by quick too.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like long, especially, but it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because even, planning a hunt in Colorado, I plan a year in advance. Like, it's just, just good. What gear do you need? Where are you going to go? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah. So you're booking these transporters well in advance. What you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 You got to be on the ball about that. Then that's the thing is like you really need to figure out the unit and the dates that you want to hunt. And the good thing about Alaska, the dates for their hunting seasons do not change from year to year. They stay the exact same. So like here in Texas, what our deer season, rifle season, archery season always starts that first Saturday in October, and then rifle season starts that first Saturday
November.
After is it the first Saturday or is it like
first Saturday
that first
November.
week or so?
Yeah.
So we have that, and it's always a different number day. As where Alaska, it's September 1st, or September 5th or September 15th every single year.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about, well, in 2 years I'm trying to figure out when they're gonna release what day the season opens. So that helps you there, so you can really nail down when you want to hunt.
So when is the moose season? Is it a set? Is it? It was August, right? When you went?
September. So that season was the 1st through the 20th was that season.
Oh, okay.
We hunted the 6th through the 20th. Yeah, 6th through the 20th.
And then so the bush plane is carrying all your gear, your rafts to to the lake or wherever you're going to start drifting.
Exactly. It could be, one flight or it could be 3 flights, depending on the plane that they're using and how much gear you have. Like say where you're getting dropped off, it's a lake. Will they have a float plane? Do they have a beaver? Do they have an otter? What exactly, or is it, a cub with floats? It all depends on that. Maybe they have a beaver with wheels and they can drop you off on a sandbar. If it's a beaver or an otter, that more than likely they can get you and all your gear in one flight. But if it's a cub, they can get you and, a little bit of your gear in one flight. And then the next flight, they're going to bring the rest of your gear. So it all depends on what plane they have, really.
Yeah. Because you mentioned in your gear dump video about keeping your bag 50 pounds for the airlines and whatnot, but I imagine you got quite a bit of gear, especially those rafts got to weigh they got to be some weight, no?
Yeah, those rafts, I think with their rowing package and paddles come in at, I think probably about 80, right at like 80 pounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good chunk of weight, especially when you're, trying to pack a small plane,
Right, exactly. And from what I've seen and heard, like those small planes are they're very strategic with their weight placement and on the plane.
Exactly. It's not like, well, you just throw your gear in there and hop in. Usually the pilot, he'll get inside the plane and you'll just hand him stuff through the door, and he'll put it, where it needs to go, depending on how. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Man, that's so cool. It's so interesting, though. Yeah. So I just imagine there's a lot, and I guess for someone who's ever done it, I mean, it almost, at least for myself, it seems like it would be overwhelming to plan all this. But I guess if you just take it step by step, it's just like planning any other travel trip.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, like if you set up a checklist of what needs to be done, um, it makes it so much easier. I reading those books I was telling you, earlier. In some of those books they have checklists of break it down of everything you need to do in what order and all that kind of stuff. And it that made it a lot easier than just thinking, well, I need to do this and this first, and hopefully I'm doing it right. But I mean, I guess there's not really any exactly right way to do it, but
right, right, and you're also not, you're not, because it's DIY. You're not okay. This outfitter is going to meet you in Anchorage and take you from there. Like where I would imagine that's what an outfitter would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's strictly well, and even the drop camps that they do for moose, where you're hunting like a spot that the pilot chose for you. It's still up to you to get there and get to the transporter. You can't. They're not going to come pick you up, at the airport and drive you all over the place and take you to their place. It's on you to get there, and they're just there to fly you in and fly you out, really. So
right. We didn't get into this in part one, and I should have picked your brain a little bit. As far as food, so you're taking 10, 14 days, whatever it is, of food for each of y'all.
Yeah.
And I think you said on your gear dump too that it was 2 pounds a day, pretty much per person.
Yeah.
Are you mostly doing, freeze dried stuff, or like what are you running for food? I should have asked you earlier.
It's all basically freeze dried and dehydrated stuff. I make my own meals just because that stuff can get expensive.
Yeah.
I don't make all of my own meals, but I'll make about half to 3/4 of them. They're on my own. That way, it's a little bit cheaper. You can save a little bit of money there, especially when those freeze dried ones can cost $12 to $15 a meal. That gets expensive, but
right.
2 pounds is a good number to shoot for per day. I mean, everybody's different, but you kind of just got to figure out what works best for you. And it seems like that 2 pounds is about right for most people. And I basically have the same menu set up for any hunt that I go on. I just have to make the amount of make meals for the amount of days I'll be gone.
Right. And for somebody who hasn't done a hunt like this, because packing food to me, it sounds like you're packing for a backcountry hunt, because you want to be as light as you can regardless. Even though you've got the rafts, which I can imagine carry a little bit more gear than a hike in type backcountry hunt. You've got the rafts to carry whatever, stove, that kind of stuff. But I guess with that, because I have done some like wall tent DIY stuff. Man, you're taking everything in the kitchen sink. You're taking canned food. You're taking, that's a whole different, that's, you're camping out pretty much. In this type of, because this is part of the planning. What are you going to eat? You got to plan for it. What are you going to run?
Yeah.
I didn't even get into your water filters. What are you going to run for water filtration or purification? That kind of stuff. So
yeah, there's there's a ton of things. And I mean, and what's crazy is, so we were out there for 20 days. So we had 20 days of food. And then, you have to plan to be there for extra days just in case. So we took 3 extra days worth of food. So that's 23 days of food, and per person that comes out to basically averages like 46 pounds of food per person. And you're looking at 3 people. Well, that's, 140 pounds right there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The good thing though about having the refs in a base camp like you're like by the river, you don't have to haul that food up around onto you.
Yeah.
You don't have to haul, like you in a backcountry, and you got to carry all your stuff with you. But so that
it makes it nice halfway. Yeah.
You can keep some of that at camp, so to speak.
But
all that is part of the planning. Like, what are you going to eat? Again, and it makes sense that you're going to. Of course, I'm assuming you have a lot of your bars, healthy, protein bars, that kind of stuff. It's not just your
it's not candy and stuff all the time and right. freeze dried food. Yeah, I try to keep mine fairly a rounded diet, healthy out there as I can. Like the meals I make myself. In there, if I make a spaghetti, I put a packet of Parmesan cheese, a packet of olive oil, and, crushed red pepper, just so it tastes pretty good. And, you can get fat, because if for some reason out there, if you ain't getting fat in your diet, man, you start losing weight so quick.
Yep.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yep, for sure. And you have made some pretty good videos on your meals.
A few of my recipes. Mm-hmm. A few of my recipes.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that too. Last couple hunts I did, and some of them come out better than your mountain house and that kind of stuff.
I think they do. Yeah. Honest, some of them do. Now, some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them can come out pretty bad, but
some are a little crunchy.
They do.
But it's substance. Exactly. That's all that matters. Yeah. Sometimes you just want hot food. And stuff. So that's cool. Yeah. And what did you run for water filtration?
So we each bring our own water filter, for personal use, like it's filling up a Nalgene bottle or something like that. Mm-hmm. I use a little MSR Trail Shot. That's what I took, and then I take a spare filter. But then, like for our group filter that we take is one of those platypus. I'm trying to think of the name off the top of my head right now. It's the do what?
It was like a gravity fed type.
The platypus gravity. What's the name of it? It's Gravity something. Gravity Works. There we go. Yeah. Platypus Gravity Works. And you just go fill that 2 liter, 3 liter bag up and let it drain into a 10. We just drain it into a 10 liter bag and constantly filtering water. We try to keep, about 20 to 30 liters of water, always on hand that's filtered. That way we're not thirsty or need water, and it's like, we got to go filter water now.
Yeah. So the good thing is you're near a river, always.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no lack of finding water, which is good. So you're planning for your gear. You're planning. You got your flight. What about coming back? I mean, you were successful, so you're coming back with more weight than you went in.
Oh yeah,
a lot more weight than you went in with. I mean, packing out meat, hide horns. How does all that work? I mean, is that all part of the transporter cost?
So exactly. So that, I mean, this takes some careful planning because this can get expensive. You're successful. you're gonna have to budget that. More than likely, they're gonna have a whole separate flight for meat. To get that animal out of there.
Wow.
They'll take the whole animal, but it's going to be more than likely they're going to have to take that animal, then come back and get you and your gear. And then, like, as far as flying it back, back here home to Texas, you're just putting that meat frozen in 50-pound insulated boxes. It's just a box that's got is no different than ice chest. One of those styrofoam ice chests you get from say the gas station or something, but similar to that. Just fill it with frozen meat, and you want to keep it at 50 pounds. And how many you need of those. And a lot of people, they'll donate meat to villages or whatever, and say if they only bring back like 50 pounds, 100 pounds of meat. I can't fathom shooting a moose and giving away, giving meat to buddies is fine, but I just can't imagine shooting something that you get so much meat off of and, oh, well, I'm only going to keep, 50 pounds of it. It's like, right. Well, then why'd you do that?
Yeah.
But as far as like antlers and cape, really the same thing as the meat. You just put it in, make sure the hide's clean. If you're going to bring that back, make dang sure it's clean. That way, it's got all the meat and, fat that can spoil off of it. Make sure it's frozen too, and, put it in insulated box. And then as far as antlers, they just got to be clean. No brain matter or blood or anything like that dripping off of them. So, you got to scrape them good with a knife, and then taking foam and wrapping the antlers. Maybe cutting some, if there's, sharp points and stuff, just cutting hose to put over those points and, tape it on and tape over the skull with that plastic wrap, and it's good to go. For the most part, like that flight back here, there's a couple of airlines, like you can take American. I can't remember if Delta flies up there or not. United does, and Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines is by far the best out of all of them. They know the whole routine for everything.
Right.
They're not gonna, if you need help with something, they'll help you. As far as like the other airlines are like, well, I don't know. We don't really normally, have people flying with a moose head on
Right.
board. So, you're going to have to figure it out, so in Alaska it's a good airline. They'll help you out. And, if you need help doing something or whatever, they're usually pretty helpful about stuff and easy to maneuver through all their rules and stuff like that.
So you mentioned you froze the meat. Where did you do all that at? Like, where are you freezing?
So a lot of places, like a lot of the transporters, they understand that, obviously you're coming back with a moose. A lot of transporters, they'll allow you to stay around there. You might have to get a hotel or something or whatever, but they'll allow you to, if there's a processor nearby, and they don't have room, they can set you up with, getting that processor's freezer so that you can cut up meat, and, package, get it frozen, or, they'll have a freezer at the hangar and stuff like that. It's a little daunting and, you kind of worry about, all these things, but for the most part, those transporters, they know the routine. They can help you out with a lot of that stuff. We left my moose there at the transporter, and we had decided we were going to get a basically like a rental house, and we just cut it up in the garage, and we're able to use the processor closest by, use their freezer to freeze the meat, overnight, so that it was frozen, and box it up and then flew it home.
Oh, okay. I imagine there's processors that will do that for you too, but that probably costs more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even want to know what that costs,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
can
there's
imagine.
processors that do that.
I'll ship your meat home for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I guess
Yeah, and I will say, yeah.
each of those,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, each of those styrofoam 50-pound ice chest, whatever,
Hmm.
is considered a bag, extra bag. Like you're paying the bag
Yes.
fees,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
just like anything else.
Yeah, and I will say the cheapest way to do all to get everything home is to fly with it. A lot of people are like, well, I'll just ship it. That's don't ship it. Fly with everything. Do not ship it because it is crazy expensive to ship. It ends up being probably I would say about half price if you just fly with it. Yeah, I
Really?
mean, granted, your luggage cost might be $500 or something, but if you shipped it, it's going to cost you, probably 800 to 1,000.
Right.
So it's always something to remember is fly with it.
Very cool. Yeah, because I can see that that's something you got to plan for. Obviously
Yeah,
we all hope to be successful. So,
yeah,
you want to, that's why people say, wow, you drive all the way to Colorado. Yeah, because if we're successful, you got to drive the meat home. Like that's the cheapest
yeah.
way, you know,
Oh yeah, by far.
you
Yeah.
know, versus, flying. So,
Oh, and I did think of this. There is another way. There's a reefer. There's a company. I forget the name of the company, but they have reefer trucks that will hang up there, all season, and then at the end of the season, they drive down in the lower 48, and they have specific, cities that they stop to. Well, you can go meet them and pick up your meat and stuff like that. And I think that's a little bit cheaper than shipping per se, but I don't know exactly how much cheaper. I just know it can be a little more convenient, but I mean,
right.
that's one of the options you have.
Well, that would make sense because so pretty much your transporter is kind of your expert, as far as asking them questions. Hey, how do I get my meat back? How do I what is this? Where do you pick me up? How do I get a hold of you? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, like those guys, they've all been doing it they either grew up doing it with their parents and family, or they've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, they all know they know the routine. They know, you know, they can answer about any question that you can think of, whether it be from hunting or like we're talking right now, cutting up meat.
Yeah, because you mentioned in part one that okay, you have plan A, B, and C, and they're just supposed to know to meet you on this day,
Hmm.
on this particular day and time. Like, do you have a set, or do you actually have? I mean, we didn't even talk about it. Did you take any kind of satellite communication at all, or
Yeah, we took a Garmin InReach.
InReach? Yeah.
Hmm. I was gonna get one of those Zolios just to take as backup, but I ended up messing around and it was getting close to the hunt. And I was like, yeah, whatever. We've used that Garmin Reach enough. I trust it. I think we'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you're
I mean
meeting.
that thing works good.
So are you communicating with your transporter through that, or are you just like you say you just have a date and time to be somewhere?
uh, Mostly have that plan of date and time is where we're going to be, but it will let them know, hey, in the event that you are successful, you got to let them know, hey, we do have a moose down, just so you know. That way they can prepare, because more than likely, which I would say is probably 99% of the time, they have other hunters that they've taken out,
Right.
and they're going to need to know, if they need to juggle flights around, or swap pilots or planes or anything like that. You know, so that they can get you out in as few a trips as possible,
Right.
so that they can also help other hunters or clients of theirs.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wouldn't even know how they do all that. That's kind of crazy. You know? And then
Yeah.
and then they have to deal with weather and stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
I can
Oh,
only
it's
imagine.
crazy. Yeah. I wouldn't even want to. I wouldn't even want to be in that business come August to October. They're so busy. I mean,
Uh,
it's crazy.
we didn't even talk about it. Did you see other hunters out there at all? I mean, it seemed like y'all were the only ones there.
The only people we saw were those ones that we came across on that sandbar at that airstrip. They said they were hunting and they had rifles with them, but I
Oh,
mean, I don't know that they were really
hmm.
hunting much. They
Okay.
were more so just kind of hanging out, you know. So,
Interesting.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good thing as far as pressure on the moose,
yeah,
but it seems like the moose are still kind of are few far between. You were lucky enough to call some in, but
yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you say that. So moose, there's like one moose per 10 square miles in Alaska. Is basically
oh, I see.
the like average,
Gotcha.
game density is one moose per 10 square miles, and you start to think about it, and you're like, man, how am I ever going to find this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
So,
because they're not herd animals, right? They're not. They're not like
nah, the only
elk.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, they're solitary, completely solitary. The only time they get together is during the rut. A bull will have his little harem of cows, 3, 4 at the most. Usually it's like one or two cows
Hmm.
and a bull together, and that's it for, say, a couple weeks. And then the rest of the year, they're all completely solitary.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, just so get into the Hunt Planner Alaska, start planning stuff with that. Um, so when you went for the first time 2 years ago, that was your first time,
Yes. Yeah. As far as hunting wise.
and nobody in your group then. I know it was your dad uh,
Hmm.
had gone before either.
No, that was all our first time.
Uh,
The three of us. That was the first
dude,
time.
props to you, man. That's you know, you know. I mean, I've gotten
Yeah.
Colorado, but a buddy. When I first went to Colorado, I went with a buddy who'd gone before, and it's like you take.
Uh-huh.
He was taking me under his wing and showing me. That's
Hmm.
how you learn. But to go stone, with no guidance, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But until you get there, that's how you learn.
Yeah. I mean, that was our whole thing. We're like, well, if we're gonna do it, we just got to jump in, you know,
Hmm.
2 feet, and you know, don't just don't just sort of do it. Either do it or don't.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of we've all been to Alaska, to go fishing and stuff, and we understood. It's one of those
Oh,
things. It's
okay.
like this. It's not a game or some. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something that the Mother Nature in Alaska is no joke, and
Yeah.
you better be 100%. You better be in 110% and dead serious
Very.
about it, or
Yeah.
you wind up in a bad situation.
Right. Right.
So,
Um, Another thing that when I can imagine with all this planning. Okay, we gotta make our flight, and then from there we gotta get the car, and then we gotta get to the transport. At least for me, I can see myself being like stressed out about all that until I actually get to I get
yes,
to
yes,
put my raft in. Okay, now we're hunting, or we're starting our
oh yeah,
adventure, so to speak. You know what I mean? But
no,
I don't know, man. I mean, it's stressful just to travel for business or whatever. I can only
yeah,
imagine, like, okay, where's my guns, my gear, what if they forget my? I'm like, oh, dude, I can only imagine the stress.
yeah. The stress doesn't go away until that plane drops you off and you've gone through all your stuff and make sure that that plane didn't leave with something you needed.
Yeah.
Then you can finally take a breath and be like, all right, we're good. But until then, man, yeah, as soon as you leave, I mean, for me, as soon as I left San Antonio, San Antonio Airport, I was, I was stressing the whole time.
Yeah.
Thinking about did I grab this? Did I grab that? I mean, just stuff like that.
Yeah, I make checklists, I don't know, months in advance, and then adding to it, adding to it. Like, let me put this on there.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine all that planning and whatnot. And one thing, if there's anybody out there who's planning, whether it be Alaska or Colorado or any out of state, one thing I have to always remind myself too is to have fun on the trip, because it can be, if you're so like, because I get in the zone, like I'm there to hunt, and you said it about camping chores, and that's it's got to get done, but for me, I have to remind myself, let's have some like fun, joke around, whatever.
Oh yeah.
It can't be 100% work, because then nobody's gonna want to hunt with you anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct on that. You definitely, there's work to be done, but at the end of the day, you need to have fun or
take it in. Take it.
Enjoy it while you're there.
Enjoy it, and enjoy it while you're there. Enjoy the scenery, the whole thing. Take it all in. Take some time to take it in, for sure. Well, cool, man. It sounds like quite the adventure, and like I said, it's probably something like maybe a whole lot of people don't do, because it's a lot. It's a lot to plan for and do. And again, kudos and congrats for being successful. Excluding gear, what are you looking at, like tag, travel, logistics? What do you think? Cost estimation, if somebody wanted to plan, such a thing.
That's kind of a hard one to pin down exact numbers, just because there's so many different variables as to how you do it, what you can do. There's so many ways to save money on stuff, but just kind of a ballpark. Rafts, like if you wanted to do a float trip, rafts are anywhere from $75 to $150 a day, depending on which raft you're using. Airfare, anywhere from about, and I'm talking airfare as in the big airlines, anywhere from $600 to $1,200. Like this year, I saved some money on my airfare. I found a guy on a forum that had a Alaska Airlines little voucher that was $850. Well, I snagged it from him for $600 because he just didn't. He wasn't going to use it and was just wanting to get rid of it. And I just messaged him, said, "Hey, would you take $600?" And he said, "Yeah, sold. So I'll send it to you." So that flight was only $600, and I think the flight ended up being right at 800. So it was like I saved $200 there. Bush flight, this is all dependent on what plane and how far of a flight it is, because they'll charge you from the time they leave that airstrip to the time they get back. So if that flight is an hour and a half, if it's an hour and a half from their airstrip to where they drop you off, then it's an hour and a half back. So you're going to get charged for a 3-hour flight. And that could be, anywhere from $500 to heck, $10,000, depending on what you're doing. That'd get split, between the group. And those prices and stuff, like the pilot the transporter, they'll know how long that flight's going to take, so they can give you a price as to what it's going to cost. So that it's not like, oh, hey, by the way, you owe us, $9,000, and you're like, what? I wasn't, I thought it'd only be, $900 or something, So, I mean, they give you a heads up as to what that's going to be. And then all that put together, you can do it for or I would say right around with tags and all that kind of stuff. Uh, Luggage, with your paying for luggage and all that kind of stuff, everything all in right around, I'd say $3,000 to $3,500. It sounds like a lot, but then when you stop and think about it, and it's like, well, you have 2 years to save that amount of
Yeah.
money. Or I mean, heck, you can save for 4 years for it. That's not really,
Right.
that's not unattainable
Right.
for a lot of, that's an attainable thing for most people.
Right.
And like I said, there's so many ways to save money on stuff like flying back with your meat if you kill something. Depending on how many people you hunt with, determines price wise. Like I know, like for us, the two places we've hunted, we've thought about, having a fourth person with us hunting, but we calculated it all up. Well, if we took a fourth person, that's another flight and it's going to be more expensive for everybody. So it's like, well, that's, kind of why we've kept it at 3 and keep the price down. But some places, it's cheaper to have 4 people instead of, 4, or it's cheaper to have 4 instead of 2 or 3. It all really depends.
Yeah.
And like with the flight, how I told you I saved money with the voucher. There's all sorts of ways really that you can knock the price down. But one thing to keep in mind too is if you're successful, know that that's probably going to be an extra flight and that's going to be extra luggage on your way back that you're going to have to budget for.
Gotcha.
And it can be, if you have hunting buddies, it can be split between your hunting buddies. So it's not crazy expensive just on your wallet.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's something you have to keep in mind.
Right. Especially if you guys are splitting the meat and all that. I mean, just
oh yeah,
it's a team. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of guessed that 3,000 to 5,000 is what I was thinking. Depending on so 3,500. When you think about it, it's not bad.
No.
I mean, there's hunts in Texas that are more than that.
Oh yeah,
way more than that. For whitetail.
That are 4 times that.
Exactly, for whitetail. And you're getting a bull moose here, and you're having an adventure, out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the way, people get. I mean, that's cheap for any deer lease in Texas. I mean, that's probably your medium deer lease fee.
Yeah.
That $3,000 somewhere in there, a gun. So look at it that way.
Yeah, and something too to keep in mind. Some people see that number and they're like, "Oh man, that's crazy." Is you're getting, at minimum, you're getting probably 12 days of hunting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, that's the thing with moose hunts or I shouldn't just say moose hunts, but hunting in Alaska in general it's different than your typical, most people will go to Colorado for say like 7 days or something like that. Up there, there's no hunting trip is less than 10 days really, because you have to count for weather and all that kind of stuff. And so you're really getting to hunt a lot more, for I guess a little bit less money if you calculate it all out, sort of, kind of in a roundabout way.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It sounds like a cool hunt, man. I'm sure you enjoyed. I'm sure your dad enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
your dad and your brother. Are you going back?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going back to get your brother one now? What's
yeah, eventually. I don't know if that's going to be in 2 years or what. There's some pretty big plans in the future for some other stuff, but we'll see what happens with that. But definitely be going back to get him a moose. I don't know if it's going to be in 2 years or what. So we'll see.
Cool. What's in store for New Divide Outdoors? Any adventures coming up this season?
as far as adventures this season, that's it. I had planned on going mule deer hunting later this year, but it just isn't going to work out. Uh, I just I'll be at our place, deer hunting with my bow the rest of the season, and hopefully get me a deer or two. And I mean, there's some big adventures down the road
Gotcha.
for New Divide, but for this season, that's about it as far as adventure hunts go.
Gotcha. Yeah, or any hunting is cool. So, all right, man. Well, thanks for sharing, man. Thanks for sharing how to do with DIY Hunt Alaska. Congrats. I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
The information. Maybe we'll inspire somebody out there to do it. I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it before I get any older. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I still got the health, to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody needs to do it at least once in their life. At least go to Alaska to go hunting one time. It's just one of those places. It's you probably think the same thing. It's one of those places you just dream about hunting there one day, at least one time in your life. I think every hunter always dreams of hunting Alaska once in their life. And it's really, it's affordable for everybody to do at least once in their life, whether that be moose or caribou or whatever. It's not an unattainable trip for a lot of people,
Yeah, and I think there's only 3 species, right, that you can do over the counter without DIY. I think it's moose. Moose, caribou.
Moose, caribou, black bear. Yeah, I think that is it. Because I know you got to have a guide for sheep, goat, and grizzlies. So,
or have a relative, right? Or a direct relative that lives there or something like that.
Yeah, it's the first of kin. Is it first of kin or second? Whichever it is, it has to be either like mother, father, daughter, brother, sister. Something like that.
Huh. Interesting. I'll have to look into it and see if I may do that one day. We'll see. But I can only imagine walking up on that animal. Man, that's got to be insane.
I'll say the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh man, what I get myself into.
No, but kudos to you, man. Congrats again on an awesome hunt. Appreciate
Thank you.
Taking the time to share your stories and share your knowledge with us, and good luck to you in this season, man. Hope you get a nice deer or whatever here in your home.
Man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And we'll keep in touch. And like I said, I'll put all the links to your content for anybody out there. Check out New Divide Outdoors on YouTube. And as always, guys, thank you all for listening. And let's take it outside.